Just to give me a moment to kind of hurry up and finish setting up. So give me a hot second. But how's your day going?
Pretty good, sir. How about yours?
Oh, you know me, man. You know me. I am, trying to rest up before the next week. I gotta work.
Are you doing any vacation soon?
Probably not. I'm not taking a vacation this year.
I am.
Last year I did. This year not. Nobody in my family was talking about it, so that means it was that bad this year. I mean, nobody spoke on it. Nobody said anything about want to go anywhere for anything. I was like, I took that as I guess we ain't doing nothing this year. What about yourself? What you got planned?
I'm not sure yet.
I mean, still a little bit more of the year left.
Yeah, there is. We still have like 7 months. I mean, I'm sorry, 4 or 5 months.
That's true.
And then we got the elections.
Yeah. So everybody should just get out there and vote. Whoever you're going to vote for, go out there and do your due diligence for democracy. That's about as far as I'm taking it, Brandon. I know you be trying to bait me into this, sir.
Make America great again, sir.
Hey. I hear you. I might not agree with you, but I still hear you, and I don't want to diminish other people.
Don't
I don't want to
inflate
diminish
America.
people's
Don't inflate America.
Thoughts. I don't like to try to diminish people's thoughts. Randy, you always try to suck me into this, man. Let's see. I'm gonna give you my rundown real quick. What I want to talk about. Let's see. We got Nvidia, Intel, the FCC, U.S. Cellular, the triad of T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T, standalone 5G, Qualcomm, computers, Samsung, and electric vehicles, if I can get that far.
Damn, that sounds like 4 hours.
Dude, you're right. You're not gonna talk for half of it. I'm the one gonna be talking.
Well, I'm probably gonna have to go in a little bit, but maybe for about 20 minutes because I'm gonna go eat dinner real quick and do some things real quick.
Right. No problem. Just let me know when you get ready to ride, so I don't sound like an idiot talking to myself, like thinking that you're there. That's all.
No, you're good.
I don't want to be like, so Brandon, so how do you feel about such and such? You like crickets.
Don't.
Crickets.
Let's talk about the FCC first.
You want to start with the FCC first?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the FCC. So me and No Radio have talked about this before. He stands on the side of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I am of the notion of fix it before it becomes a problem. But hold on. Let's get this pulled up.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the 60-day phone thing, but okay.
Oh no, I talked about that. I talked about that last week.
Oh, okay, go on.
I talked about that last week. That was last week's story, but this is the FCC is back in it again. They're looking to bring net neutrality back in, and the courts blocked the FCC's effort to restore net neutrality. So, for those that don't quite understand what's going on, basically, net neutrality is the FCC, came up with guidelines basically to make it fair on the internet. So, nobody's data is prioritized higher than somebody else's data. And basically you don't get these fast lanes that can be done through ISPs. Hey, do you want to have faster speeds? If you pay us more money, you get faster access. So that was the kind of the big problem. It got implemented during 2 administrations ago, which was under the Barack Obama administration, and then it got overturned in the Trump administration, and now it's being brought back again underneath this current administration. So it's been flipping, flopping back and forth, depending on where you might stand at. But the internet, I'm of the case that the internet needs to be as open as possible. I mean, the freedom of having more information is always great. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. But I understand that, at the end of the day, bills got to get paid too. So I think that it needs to be kind of like a hybrid approach. I'm not going to say for home internet, but I know for cellular, they have exemptions. I don't know if you know that, Brandon, but cellular has exemptions from net neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
So their exemptions is they have to micromanage their networks. And,
Right.
that way they don't get, over bogged down or whatever. So they get exempted kind of from this. But I haven't seen anything new of case, but they might try to lump the cellular carriers into this now that they're a little bit more mature. It was only 4G during the Obama administration. Now we're on the verge of thinking about 6G underneath this administration. So
yeah, during the Obama administration, we they 4G had just started. Well, the
4G
real
was 4G was at its birth. Like, it was there, but it wasn't like fully fledged out.
Yeah, most people were still on 3G though,
Right.
but it was people were mainly on band 13, and T-Mobile was all band 2, and Sprint was, I think, only doing 25 or 6.
Right. So I mean, like the fact that we're coming back to this again, and like the ISPs, the cable, telecom, and mobile internet providers all cried bloody murder against the FCC. They were like, "Yo, please don't let them do this to us. Don't let them do it to us." So they cried. This still has to go through Court of Appeals to kind of get it all the way to the Supreme Court. That's what's going to end up happening with this. Is going to end up going to the Supreme Court, and depending on the case that they make, let's see if I go in here a little bit further. They wanted to make basically the FCC wanted to make ISPs Title II. So underneath Title I, I think they have a lot more freedoms, but under Title II, they get classified as a common carrier, which translates this to being that, look, think about your electricity or think about your water. There's probably going to end up being one entity that provides internet, and they don't like that idea, because that means that they would have to go play around in somebody else's neighborhood to make money. And as we have learned, cable companies in general don't like to play in other people's neighborhood.
That's why Google Fiber isn't really a thing.
Google Fiber is not a thing because I think that Google is going to have to do the T-Mobile approach, is just start buying. I think they're doing everything they can so they don't have to buy yet. And then you have to also understand, I haven't married up their map to where they are building to what like data centers they might be trying to provide data to. I look at it from a like, hey, we're going to do this for ourselves, and then whatever is residual hanging over, that we'll do that too. That's kind of how I look at it.
Right, but the thing is that let's say the thing is that a lot of these I like for example, if all this goes if they prioritize fast things for everything, then a lot of these ISPs are going to choke and they're going to raise pricing more than they already are. And not
Well,
only that, but there's some small ISPs that are basically going out of business because they're losing customers, or customers are basically just leaving.
yeah, well, you know what? The current way that internet is provided in our nation, it wasn't sustainable for somebody small. It's the same exact way that's happening with cellular. If you were like, 20 years ago, small carriers could get away with being small because people wasn't really traveling that much, or they wasn't going like real far. But now people crisscross the country like it's nothing. That people crisscross the country just because it's a Tuesday now. So your cell phone, instead of going, well, you know what, since I left this area, my phone is not going to work. That doesn't cut it no more. People roam around. It's the same thing about, ISPs. The small carrier, like, let's say that it would be like, mom and pop cable company.
Yeah, a lot of those are
They're
dying, or a lot of
yeah,
those
but
are getting bought
a lot of
out.
them are dying.
Even the small cellular companies are getting bought out.
Yeah, that's another story that I was going to talk about with U.S. Cellular, because they're on the verge, and they were the
No,
largest
okay, so
small company that
I'm
was
saying,
left.
okay, so I'm talking about way smaller than U.S. Cellular.
I don't think there's nothing smaller than U.S. Cellular.
There is.
If there is, it's riding underneath the radar, very, 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 very low.
Yeah, it's very small. Like it, there's a lot of them out there, but they're like only within the state or something like that.
But here's the thing: they're so small that even the big boys don't even want to touch them. They're like, "Yo, you're gonna be our customer anyway soon."
I mean, eventually, I mean, there will come a day. I mean, if there's potential for it, but if there's no potential for it, then it's just going to basically rot itself.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of having to go buy a company should only be like, yo, is it going to give us more assets, right? If you
Well, I
already
mean,
have
people.
if you already have the assets, you're just waiting for the customers. Then you don't buy the customers.
Well, the thing is that they kind of do buy the customers, but obviously, if there's a benefit for it in the future, then it obviously they're gonna buy if it's a good investment. If it's a bad investment, then they're not gonna buy it.
But you don't want to just spend money on people. You want to spend money on people if you like the T-Mobile merger. I mean, not T-Mobile, T-Mobile acquisition of US Cellular, right? They're
Hmm.
buying the customers, but they're also buying assets. So it's kind of like, yo, we get the people as a side problem, but we really want the spectrum.
Right.
But if it came down to let's like, oh well, we'll eventually get the people, man, I think that it'll be like, yo, the people will switch on their own. Have a nice day. We're not gonna pay you for people that will end up being our customers anyway.
Hmm.
But like I said, the problem is the Comcasts and the charters of our world, they they don't want to be told how they should conduct themselves.
Hmm.
Verizon or AT&T, they don't want to be told how they should conduct themselves, but they want the freedom to be able to have the option of it if it ever came about, right? The
Right.
option is hey, if I could charge more people for faster access, I would like to have that in my back pocket if I need to. But the industry, like how
But
can I
the
say it?
problem. The problem is, Edmund, is that a lot of people are already paying for faster access, but they're how do I say, the ISPs already promote faster access, but the problem is that a lot of people don't have the devices to support the actual speed.
Yeah. Hey, look,
Like for example, like for example, if you go to Walmart, Target, or Best Buy, buy the budget TVs, and you're paying for 500 or a gig service, and you have all these other smartphones, and all they're doing is just looking at social media or Peacock or Disney Plus or whatever, you don't need a whole gig for that. Maybe on a good day, 2 or 300.
maybe, but
But the
here's the
problem
thing.
is that the problem is the ISPs upsell, so that way they can pay back their investment.
But here's the thing. I totally understand like investments, right? You put a lot of hardware on the field. You want to make sure that you get all the money, all the bang for the buck you have, right? But what ends up happening is they'll constantly come back around trying to figure out a way to gouge more money out of people. Okay, so like internet speeds are only going to get faster and faster and faster. That's just a given. Access to the internet is only going to get faster and faster and faster. But here's the thing: that is a missed opportunity to generate revenue off of it. But what ends up happening is
But
normally
it's
when you start putting speed,
overkill.
but here's the thing: when you start putting speed lanes in, you create a segment of the internet that's for poor people. You know what I mean? Or you create a segment of the internet is only meant for the finest of us. I get the two
But
millisecond two
admin is
millisecond
that
ping.
people deal with it. People will actually deal with it because when T-Mobile first, I mean, when T-Mobile was a thing, like back then when smartphones first came out, people wouldn't care. They like wouldn't care what would happen because they were okay paying the price of it. Because back
Yeah,
then there
but
was not really
that's different. Here's the thing. That is different when you say, "Hey, look, you know what? You're only going to get 25 megabits per second." Okay, that's different than telling somebody you're only going to get, you know, 100 milliseconds access versus let's say somebody else who's paying for 5 millisecond. You know what I mean? Now you're directly paying for access, not consumption. See,
yeah.
there's a fine line. That consumption versus access is very fine. Okay, you know
Mm-hmm.
you the ISPs want consumption and access, but net neutrality eliminates the whole ass idea of like super duper access, right? It says that plays at the same speed. You could fight you whatever you want to figure out. You can figure out how to finagle your numbers and try to convince the public that 10 gigs is the best thing since sliced bread. But we all know that you really don't need 10 gigs. We all know we don't need. At best, I could do good with 300 by 300.
But I mean, the problem is that people don't know what all that means at all.
Right, but here's the thing. Now you're
People
gonna add.
people don't
You're
know
gonna
people,
have.
but
You're
people
gonna
will
have the.
forget right away.
But you're gonna turn around and have the ISPs turn around and add a new lane in, and they are look. You already said that it's already confusing, and a lot of people don't know. Now you're in the middle of this confusion. Now you add a secondary lane in that people don't know nothing about, and they can tie it to the highest tier plan.
Like for
Hey, do you?
example, like the most confusing thing out there now are the unlimited plans. They all say
Yes.
unlimited. If you ask somebody what plan do you have, oh, I have unlimited, but
Oh,
they
I'm
don't
gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that in a little bit because that's something that I was thinking about this week also, and I'm gonna get to that in a little bit because everything is unlimited, and really, we all know it's not really unlimited. It's like unlimited to a point.
No. Well, I mean, obviously, every plan has its. I mean, every carrier has its terms and conditions. But I'm seeing like what you get. Like every unlimited plan, you can use the internet, but the only part where it gets a little weird and shady is where you stream video.
Right. And
Like,
that's totally understandable because video is a lot heavier than browsing the web.
right.
You
And
know, web
even now,
browsing is
like you have
nothing. TikTok
like
scrolling is nothing.
it
Well,
is.
kind of nothing. I mean, everything TikTok requires video, but what I'm saying is here you got people looking at documentaries on YouTube. That's gonna bog the network down.
Well, I mean, YouTube, you can actually compress it. They've actually compressed their videos now, but and all that other stuff. But you could you literally can get you can literally use YouTube at 600 kilobits on
Yeah,
360p, and
but
some
here's the
people will
thing.
be fine with it, but others won't be.
But here's the thing: what happens if said ISP, Verizon, or AT&T, or even T-Mobile gets to the place where they're like, "Yo, you know what? Your video is going to have to buffer 15, 20 seconds, and if you don't like it, you got to pay more for it."
I mean, that's
Even though,
basically
even though,
what are we
even
dealing
though
with
the
it
network can do
now?
1080p, we're not talking about
Yeah.
when you're in a bad spot. I'm talking about like you're standing next to the tower, and all of a sudden you're still buffering. It's the
And
same
I'll be
problem
back
I
in
was
20 minutes,
experiencing.
bro.
Look, it's the same problem I was experiencing with AT&T this whole week.
Sir, I'll be back in 20 minutes.
All right, not a problem. But yeah, so with the FCC rules, I mean the same problem I've run into was with AT&T, and I do Uber. Okay, so as an Uber driver, I was using AT&T for the last 2 months for access. So running the YouTube, not the sorry, the Uber app, and I was noticing how sluggish AT&T was being in comparison to all the rest of the other carriers that I have, which is Verizon and Verizon and T-Mobile. And I was like, "Yo, this is just crazy. Why is my phone so sluggish?" And basically, it's come from the fact that AT&T has rejiggered their network for access. So an AT&T is never going to like the FCC's rules on net neutrality because they're selling access on top of accessing the internet as fast as possible. I need my app to access uh, Uber's servers as fast as possible because it's a competitive landscape. There are a whole bunch of other drivers around me that's looking at these same trips, and I need to try to grab the trip as fast as possible. And if AT&T is throttling me down because I won't pay for turbo, that means that their network is useless to me. All because I'm not giving them more money, which I'm paying for the top tier service they have. And now they're talking about, well, now I want you to give me more money for faster access. So that's why I'm kind of in favor of the net neutrality rules to be reinstated because AT&T is already showing that they're willing to go down this route now. And if I didn't have, what happens if I didn't have another phone to compare it to? I would have been throttled. My income would have been down. I would have never known anything that was happening. And it makes it 10 times harder for you to really find out because you have to have something to compare it to. So the FCC, I mean, they're gonna constantly block against this because they see an opportunity to make more money. AT&T's Turbo is a money making opportunity for access. They see it, they know it. There's not many different ways you can monetize cellular without trying to, scrape a little bit more out of the barrel. And that's kind of what they're trying to AT&T is doing. This is just one of many issues that have popped up. And reinstating net neutrality is probably going to end up being a very controversial subset of going forward. FCC's got a battle on their hands. The ISPs do not want it. Me personally, I think we do need it. I mean, I'm paying AT&T money to be on their network, and it's preventing me from being able to compete at a high level because they want more money out of me. But it's going to be interesting how this is going to end up going. All right. All right. So the next story that we're going to work with is Nvidia. So this is for all of the computer nerds out there that either you've built a computer, worked on somebody else's computer, or did something along the lines of. But AI frenzy makes Nvidia the world's most valuable company. So with Nvidia being the video card maker of choice for a lot of people, AMD's video cards are not bad, but in comparison to Nvidia's, there's a night and day difference in certain aspects. And Nvidia taking advantage of early on that their video cards can do parallel computing has jumped out ahead of everybody, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. I mean, the videos I've been watching talking about Nvidia of late, I mean, they're pretty much in everything. Anything that's powered by AI, they have a hand in. They have a lot of companies trying to get, utilize them for their AI software. You can probably go from Google all the way to OpenAI to anybody that has AI in their subtext. They're using probably NVIDIA's hardware. And with being like kind of the world's foremost AI hardware company, they are reaping the rewards. So the chip maker hit an all-time on Tuesday, and now it's worth 3.34 T with a T trillion dollars. So this I'm not giving stock advice. This is just me doing reporting, but they have superseded Microsoft and Apple as being on top of the heap for now. We don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes, companies do spike and then they become more valuable than everybody. Same thing with like the richest person. They'll spike and all of a sudden, whatever circumstances that made them spike, it can drop them back down again. But they became more valuable than even Apple, and Apple was the first company to cross the $1 trillion mark. I say what, 2, maybe 3 years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen going forward. Lavendi, what's going on, sir? All is well. All is well. Thank you for stopping by, sir. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, the California company has full dominance in the whole quote unquote AI space. So now, where do I stand at artificial intelligence? Probably somewhere along the lines that same way that Linus does, because a lot of the AI that we are really talking about is just more advanced coding, and artificial intelligence is not making anything. It still requires a lot of data in to get data out. Don't get me wrong, their capabilities of doing stuff. What they're doing is way better than it was even 10 years ago. But until artificial intelligence can give us musical bodies of work without any input of how to make music, then I think that musicians and artists and different other entities are still safe. Even when it comes down to self-driving, me being a big person on transportation and I do Uber, Self-driving is one of those mantras that I have to pay attention to, and it requires a lot of AI models. See, it requires like you taking a lot of data sets and combining them together to try to understand the world around you. And these things are going to take time. I don't know when we're going to hit that quote unquote sentient stage. It might never happen. It might happen soon. But the fact that Nvidia is the hardware that everybody runs their AI models on, that makes Nvidia probably the most valuable company right now with the whole AI boom that we're experiencing. But leave your comments below, letting me know how you might feel about it. It's just where I stand at, especially with AI. It's cool for hot, for being a hot word, but is it viable? Is it still early days, or are we seeing a renaissance? That's kind of how I look at it. I'm not seeing anything super major. Even I have to deal with AI with being an Uber driver. I could tell, advanced algorithms. There's constantly trying to poke and prod and come up with new ways to not pay me. But really, it's still kind of predictable. It's not coming up with any ingenious ways of doing it. It's just trying different. It's like a child taking a plug, if it's a star trying to figure out a way to cram the star into a square peg. We all know we will notice it as a star, so we'll put the star into the star plug. But the AI is like, well, if I fit it around this way, I might be able to find the way to get it in. That's kind of how I view AI. It's trying every single possibility it can before it moves on. And with parallel computing from Nvidia's cores, it could try that a lot faster than I would just raw power. So Nvidia and becoming the most valuable company, keep watching the space. All right. I do have some depressing news. I hate this. I have to report this one. As a person who used to, build my own PCs in the back in the day, this is kind of sad to see this as coming to an end. But it has to be reported on. So sorry, Charlie. So Intel, our beloved Intel inside, I tell you, will be cutting over 15,000 jobs in a sweeping cost-cutting effort. So Intel has kind of been on the decline of late. If you haven't really been paying attention to watching this slow motion train wreck happening, it got piled on earlier the middle of this year in about June when Qualcomm announced and released their chipsets. So ARM came on Windows, and ARM on Windows has been like a phenomenon all over again. People are buying computers more on ARM now than they have for x86 in a long time. So Intel has had a hard time making a pivot in this new age. So with that being said, this new age basically that we're under is being ARM. Energy efficient, all day battery life. x86, which was Intel's brainchild back in the 80s, basically, changed computing for 30 years, 30, 40 years almost. But the problem is it wasn't efficient. As we started going towards things that were more portable, we want more efficiency, and x86 was not cutting it. Intel being the heart and soul of x86 was the one with the hardest problem trying to adapt to a new terrain. And that's kind of the reason why we're at this point now. The net losses from quarter to quarter for them have been adding up. It was kind of like you could see the writing on the wall, but Intel wasn't able to get out of his own way. It started even before, way before Qualcomm jumped on the scene. I I will go as far back as when AMD surpassed them. Like when AMD passed them, that was probably the first nail. Intel was on top for a long time. Their chips was second to none, better than everybody else's. You put a chip out, Intel was doubling it up. They were being faster. They were in every gaming PC known to man from, when I was building PCs all the way up to, I say 2010, 2012. And then roughly about that time is when AMD fired on all cylinders. They were releasing their Threadrippers. They were releasing anything and everything that was one up in Intel left and right. They didn't fare very well. It took them a long time to put chips out. They were still on. I think it was like they were still stuck on like 10 nanometer technology for a long time in comparison to other chip makers. Um, like what is it? TSMC. Samsung was already moving towards lower nanometers on chips, and Intel was not making that move as fast. I think that they've gone through a restructuring of late where they were trying to upgrade their foundries. So Intel makes their own chips as well as they want to get into the game of making chips for everybody else. But they've been slow to that process. And now these quarterly earnings are starting to show that the losses are starting to add up. So Intel is now starting to have to cut jobs to get on the profitable path. So let's see here. Layoffs could impact over 15,000 jobs as the company, as part of the company's $10 billion cost reduction plan. So as you can see, they already knew that the writing on the wall. They just been kind of slow to it, and then you add insult to injury, which means they already knew they were going to have to do this. But then you add insult to injury, and now ARM is on Windows. The laptop space is getting ready to be taken over completely by ARM as of yet. Um, Nvidia can be entering the game, which we just talked about. Nvidia and Nvidia can jump into this because they do server ARM chips for enterprise. So there's not much that can stop them from jumping into the whole, CPU game set for commercial. Not commercial, but for like, for everyday people like myself. That's more competition. Intel wants to become just a straight foundry. And if you're not sure what that is, basically they want to be the TSMCs, they want to be the Samsungs, they want to just make the chips and they can make money off of that. What's up, Mr. Aries in the house? What's up? What's up? So with Intel having a hard time, it's going to be interesting to watch them and their moves and shakes. Salutations from the center of the storm. Wait a second, is there a storm going on in Florida? Hey man, be careful, sir. I don't need you to get swept away into the ocean. Oh, I haven't even seen anything about it. I'm gonna have to look this up after I get off tonight. But hey man, stay safe out there, sir. Stay safe. But let's see here. So part of the job cuts is basically, oh, he said that she's having a hissy fit. And no, sir, I'm not going to repeat that last. She might need some, and I'll let the viewers read the comments below in their own time. But let's see, TSMC and other companies like them are getting more of the, how can you say it? They're getting more of the love as of late, and that's eating into a lot of the Intel's profits. So Intel's going to have to make some pivots. If they don't start pivoting hard soon, they're going to start losing a lot of lunch. But this is more of a long-term play too. So they're probably going to take their losses now. That way they can bounce back strong later. That's what I'm hoping for, because it'd be nice to finally see an Intel chip that's ARM maybe one day back inside some of these computers. Let's see here. All right. So U.S. Cellular is kind of back in the news again on the Fierce network. And this is something I have speculated since they have been trying to offload a lot of their operations onto T-Mobile now, which is why T-Mobile's buying a lot of their existing. They're buying their customers, they're buying their spectrum, and this is just another thing that I think US Cellular kind of wants to start focusing on as a business model. And I do feel that the business model can be ripe. It depends on how much room or how much leeway that they're willing to spend, because cell networks need cell towers. And it looks like US Cellular might try to become a full speed ahead on their tower portfolio. US Cellular being a tower company, kind of like American Tower, or I'm not sure about all the other names of tower companies, but being in rural America is where the expansion is going to start happening. And this is going to be a very, very important part to, these cellular providers going forward. And US Cellular look like they want to position themselves as the de facto power company for rural America. Now, granted, they have a head start maybe in rural America, but not overall. But sometimes when you play around in rural America a lot more, you get more handshakes. You might be able to deal with that small town that doesn't want to put a tower up in that small town. You know, like take my small town. I did a video on it where US Cellular put a tower smack dab in the middle of my town. There was a tower smack dab in the middle of my town, but then they tore it down. Now US Cellular came in and put another one up. They might be able to have better relationships with local municipalities than the actual carriers themselves. That can give them the edge they need to be able to put towers up a whole lot faster than maybe their counterparts like American Tower, or companies that are just like it. Um, with US Cellular, offloading pretty much a large chunk of their company onto T-Mobile, and T-Mobile buying it for like $4.4 billion. I mean, that's not a lot, but that's not also a little bit either. That coming with debt too. Then they can pivot and become a tower company. I think that they're supposed to get like 20,000 towers leased from US Cellular with this deal. So that means that their leftover towers, they're gonna start looking for tenants. So let's see here. It says in order to keep the tower portfolio, US Cellular needs to add more tenants and or co-locates if you want US Cellular to have more locations. And then this part of the article is going into talking about like T-Mobile buying. They're basically buying the operations and where their footprint is currently. So we got Maine, Eastern North Carolina, see a large chunk of Virginia into West Virginia, Midwest, and West Coast. All right. And then the tower question. I didn't get it. I read this through, but I didn't quite understand much of it. But I know this much that towers are going to be like towers in rural America is going to be the driving force for expanding like fixed wireless to more places. So if US Cellular is going to become a major player in this, that's just another asset for the T-Mobiles, the AT&Ts, and the Verizons to finally be able to touch more people. So if you get a chance, come over to Fierce Network and then look this article up. I think right now it's at the top of the page. And give this a gander of a read. Kind of gives you an idea of what type of flow is going on with the cellular industry as a whole right now. US Cellular realizes that, hey, being a cell phone carrier is not going to make them enough money. But that if you just become a dedicated something, be dedicated to something, you might be able to make a lot more money. Is that Aries in the house?
Yeah.
What's up, sir?
Not much, man. Out here surviving, you know what I'm saying?
Is it that man, sir?
We don't know what's gonna happen yet, big dog.
It can't be that bad. You on the line with me now?
I mean, I didn't say it was apocalyptic. I just said it was. The swimming pool has overflowed. That's how much is right.
Oh Lord!
Mind you, that water was like 12 inches below the lip. It's now above it.
Wow!
It is raining, sir.
So not really heavy winds.
Well, we got some winds right now. They said what they're saying. It's like constant 45-mile-an-hour right now.
Ooh. Oh, come on, 45. No,
yeah, but it's constant. I didn't say gust.
You from North Carolina, bro? 45. That's a
45.
That's a brisk walk to the park.
In North Carolina, we get that we get that as a gust. This is like the resting rate of the wind. It's going faster than that. It's just resting at 45. You know how you be on the treadmill and you got that you going about you got the treadmill set to about a 5. When this situation, every now and then you pump it up to a 6, but you get a little tired, so you slow back down. That's what the wind doing. When it's chilling, it's doing 45. Okay.
It's keeping a nice pace going. It's a nice pace.
Yeah. But no, as long as it only keeps raining, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
But that's what it is.
Hey, I don't know if you saw much of the article. I saw you pop up in the chat, but US Cellular is going to be focusing on making towers. Tower portfolio.
Yeah.
But the reason why I chose this next segment is because this is kind of like a bigger conversation I was going to end up having. I was watching Sneed's podcast the other day, and he had Brian and Moose on. Okay, and they were talking about the quarter.
Thing 2.
Nah, I'm not gonna say that. I don't want to say that like that, man. But hey, we all tote our totems for the companies that we love. You know what I mean?
I do not, sir. I don't tote no totems. I just carry
Look.
a rope to hang any of them when available.
Look, man. You bounce between them, freely. You're a free agent. You know what I mean?
I'm not a player. I just hate a lot. You know what I'm saying? I be hating.
Wow. Don't hate on them. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. But so as I was listening to Sneeze podcast, which I want to give a friendly plug, go to the SMT, the Sneed Mobile Tech YouTube channel, and look at that video. And they were breaking down the video of T-Mobile's earnings. Okay, and I was I'm listening to their commentary, and I was just we all know Brian leans a certain direction towards the red, and then
They
Moose leans
literally
more
are the
towards
Republicans and Democrats of wireless. That's what it looks like to me. The red versus the blue over there. I mean, this is ridiculous.
well, hey, they turned around and ganged up on the pink.
Of course they did.
They both was taking their chops out on the pink. They were like, "Yo, the pink is worthless. It can't do nothing. They don't know how to do nothing." But as I was listening to their commentary, I was like, "Yo, if their mindset is anything like what the corporate side is actually thinking, they don't see the train coming and getting ready to hit them. Like, as of late, right? And Brandon was in here earlier, and he has said something, and I was reading another article where like what was it? Not USA, I'm sorry, but US Mobile is offering unlimited data. Comcast is offering unlimited data. And I'm sitting here like, what differentiates these MVNOs from the major carriers? Like, what do you offer? What does a T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T offer that doesn't look like a MVNO? They all say unlimited data. You see what I'm saying? So what warrants me to want to spend, an extra $40, $50 a month for service on if everybody's getting unlimited data?
Stupidity.
No, it's not stupidity.
And remember, when I say that, I'm only referring to the major population, not the small population of nerds. Because the nerds may have a QCI argument, but everybody else is kind of wasting their time.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, this past week, man, I got totally upset with AT&T. AT&T pissed me off because I'm up here losing money because AT&T basically threw me into the back of the bus. I'm paying, top of the bus prices, and I'm in the back of the bus.
All right, Keon Parks.
If anything, you should have said Outcast. But the problem that I was like when I was listening to the podcast was I'm hearing Brian's commentary, I'm hearing Moose's commentary, and I'm like the whole time, I don't think y'all see that the company that y'all trying to gang up on is literally weaponizing everything. Like they're not playing either.
They're just foaming at the mouth with, I've only worked for one telecom disease.
But that's just something I was just noticing as, like, how can I say it? If you look at all the information that comes out, and if you just aggregate it in kind of like a timeline form, T-Mobile is literally setting them up to literally like knock them over. And the corporate guys that I'm listening to the Sneeze podcast on is like, yo, y'all don't get it. Y'all don't see y'all about to get slapped in the face like Bugs Bunny with a brick in the glove. Now, understand this is my commentary. I know you don't have to ring for it, but from my point of view, I see their oval aggressiveness is literally like sneaking underneath the radar. this article points out quite a few of the little things. Everything from them, trying to gobble up, fiber companies, which that's early. That's early days. I don't think that's something that I kind of figured they wouldn't have to do anyway. But everything from like trying to grab all the 600 megahertz spectrum they can. That's them being very aggressive. Let me turn this ad off before I get flagged.
They're not the only one buying up 600.
Who else was doing it? What, Dish?
No, save that for another day.
Oh, so there's another player for the 600s. But so like T-Mobile is being very aggressive with their purchasing of spectrum, their over aggressiveness with like certain aspects of the industry. Like here you go another one. That T-Mobile is introducing like this weird like MVNO setup. Basically, if you want to start an MVNO program, like an MVNO company, they're just going to flood the market. They're just going to make it where MVNOs, like a total by wire, total by Verizon, or a Visible or Cricket is going to be nothing.
Well, the thing about it is the number one way to do that is to partner with smaller telecoms and let them operate their MVNOs under your network. I.e., companies like Randolph Telephone, they operate an MVNO under someone else's network. So,
right.
and a lot of the really small rural like telcos can actually jump on a boat probably easier with someone like T-Mobile to get good deals for MVNO access.
Right, and then you give you access to more more areas, or just move your customer base. Like let me finish this part before I get ready to
I know, if I'm not mistaken, Randolph, they used to use Sprint, and I think whenever T-Mobile came on, they just rolled over. They were already operating a cellular bundle with their really small company. They would just use a Sprint network, right? So that just kind of rolls in. And there's a lot of small telcos that want to compete with the larger ones that have wireless operations. Whoever makes it easiest for them to start their own MVNO, that's what they're going to run with. So,
and understand, I think that a lot of people don't really look at this as being kind of like this could be a kill shot, because what ends up happening is T-Mobile is showing that they are willing to utilize their capacity. Another one. Here you go. Just was it this month? They rolled in and basically saying that, hey, we're doing two different tiers. They're doing separate tier service for their home wireless, fixed wireless. So you got the home fixed wireless, and now you got the mobile. But here's the thing: they didn't even need to do that. There was still plenty of capacity on air. I live in an apartment complex, no radio, and even before they announced this, there was like 7 people in the vicinity. When I turned my Wi-Fi on, I can see the hotspot. It says T-Mobile home internet, whatever number the router is, right? And there was 7 of them within my front window, and I'm still pulling down, 600 megabits per second, with those still broadcasting in the middle of the day and middle of the night. That's kind of what I'm alluding to, is they're finding ways to monetize faster than their competitors. And the reason why I'm saying it that way is because as soon as T-Mobile got a hold of N41, we saw what they did right off the break. They came out with Magenta Max. They saw their footing a whole lot more stable than their competitors. AT&T never really truly can keep up with Magenta Max. They tried it, but then they rolled back the access. Verizon never even tried to compete against Magenta Max. There's no version of Magenta Max on Verizon at all. And I'm starting to see that T-Mobile is their hard movement towards let's say 5G, it's only going to separate these guys a lot even more because Verizon's not moving to 5G anytime soon. They're going to be stuck in a non-standalone setup, and AT&T is in a full reset right now. So with AT&T in a full reset, I don't know what they're going to do.
I will say, on my test line, finally started seeing 5G plus on AT&T. Averaging about 600 at the moment.
Okay.
Finally started seeing it. And it's pretty much everywhere. It's all over the Guilford County area. It's all over. And they are giving Cricket customers access to it as well.
Well, that's good.
And but so at least they're doing something. Which, like I said,
I was noticing that, but
equipment, but I've been checking over and over the last like 9 months, and I just now was able to actually connect to it.
I know that for their 5G plus that I've seen them do is like N66 and N5. So they're doing they're not even doing like.
Now this was actually DoD.
I've seen them do a DoD too, but I was seeing N66 first.
N66 we had that 2 years ago and it was garbage. N5 was better. They turned it off and they turned on N66.
I'm seeing that I saw two carriers. I saw the two carriers of DoD and C-band. What's up, Raider John? How you doing? Welcome. But yeah, I'm just saying that from a broader conversation, I'm looking at basically I feel like I'm looking at two companies bickering over the third and don't really see that T-Mobile's winding up to get ready to punch them in the face. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I was looking at it because I'm like, neither one of them was making any type of understanding that T-Mobile's aggressiveness in this market right now is a detriment to them. Moose, I would say Moose is more leaning more AT&T, but AT&T's in a full reset, and then Verizon is losing customers. So how can you nitpick a company when the company that you're rooting for is not doing so hot? Oh yeah, what's up, John? Greetings and salutations. Hold on, let me highlight that. Greetings. But I'm just looking at this as T-Mobile is dead set on punching their competitors directly in the face. And then 5G standalone is the next thing. I mean, I feel that everybody's doing unlimited. You're going to have to differentiate yourself from the pack. That's how I think that's the next thing that's coming. That's just me personally. I know that everybody else feels differently, but moving towards 5G as aggressive as they have been, you need to show that, hey, the MVNOs can do the whole unlimited thing with, up to 30 gigs, 20 gigs, 10 gigs, whatever, how you want to put mantras on. But what makes it where I pay you $100 a month for access, and what do I get for my $100? So I could turn around and look at the MVNOs and be like, man, it's cheaper over there?
The truth is, no intelligent person signs up for a single line on a major carrier.
That's true.
I hate to say it that way, but no one intelligent would do that. You're better off with the MVNO if you're a single line customer.
That's true.
Especially with the offerings we're getting from US Mobile now with the unlimited teleport.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd be crazy to sign up for a single line.
But see, that's what I'm saying, is the MVNO space is innovating faster.
No point.
And then like the
Multi-line,
question I
there's an
ask
argument to
is,
be made multi-line, but single line, I mean, I don't even know why we still talk about these companies in the single line terminology, because there is no place where you're better off on any major company with a single line. There's no such thing. What you get
that
for
is very true.
what the average person would get for that is just not worth it. Remember, we're
Like,
not talking about the nerdy people. We're talking about the
yeah,
average customer. Person, you talking about people who use less than 30 gigs. There is no benefit to being on a major network if you use less than 30 gigs.
that's
Zero
very
benefit.
true.
And what's even funnier, if you look at some of these MVNOs, they're literally getting better priority than the customers on the main network up until their data limit. Spectrum Mobile being one of those. Spectrum Mobile gets better priority than an unlimited line on Verizon does up until it hits its limit.
Hey, Rita
I've
John,
proven it. I've
I'm
proven it.
seeing those, I'm seeing that same combination. I forced my phone into just 5G, and I'm just driving around in the Metro DC area, and I haven't dropped a single call, a video call, a conference call. I'm doing all my normal, and I haven't dropped anything. I'm
It
trying
breaks
to
up,
make
but
it
it don't
drop.
drop. It breaks up, but it
Yeah,
don't drop.
it'll get
I can vouch
staticky a
for
little
that.
bit.
It breaks up like a
It
mother.
gets staticky, but it won't drop. But that's what I'm saying is like there's, I feel like as I was listening to that conversation, I'm like, T-Mobile was getting ready to like drop like standalone, like full standalone with a voice over NR when Verizon got its full access to C-band, and then they stopped. And I felt like the reason why they stopped was like, we don't have to deliver that punch yet. We can wait.
Yeah, but I
And
also don't believe that there's. I think you're overvaluing standalone as well.
well, I don't. I'm looking at standalone like it unlocks more features. It's not.
But
It's
for
not going to
who?
be like a in
But
all be
for
all
who?
for the
For the
carrier.
no, no. Okay, and that's the only person that doesn't matter in the equation.
The carrier.
They don't matter. The customers who matters.
But here's the thing. What I'm saying
If
is
there's no tangible for the customer, then how do you get to brag about it?
if you can end up offering like okay,
There's no
if you the
tangible.
carrier can end up offering something that they cannot offer.
Like what? Give me what is that?
Well, I gave an example when T-Mobile got their hands on N41. The first thing they did was Magenta Max.
Yeah, but we
They knew
already got those
Verizon could not
features
jump.
now. So what can you do more? Is what I'm asking you for the customer, other
I
than the
don't know.
nerd who
I
just
mean,
wants to see it
the
happen.
only thing that I could think of is speed tiers. But like I
Nah,
said,
that's
I don't know
but in
what
a
they can
way,
end up
but think
doing.
about that though, Keegan. In a way, that's going backwards, not forward.
Well,
In a way, just going backwards because in order to do that, guess what you're going to do? You're going to have to limit some customers in order to create that tier, which means that only certain customers benefit, the other ones lose. That's the problem with the speed tier thing. The problem with speed tier is that people who currently are not getting like speeded down are now going to get sped. That's not a bonus for the customer.
well, it's the thing,
You're literally going to have to compromise the service just to make the higher tier have value, and that's what Verizon did. Verizon made their other plans so bad that you have to get the higher plan. That's not a benefit to the customer.
hey, I think
And
that
even Sneeden says that.
yeah,
They had to make all the other plans so bad so the Plus could shine.
yeah. Oh,
They
look,
didn't give you anything new at Plus. They just made all the other plans terrible.
but you know what? Like I said, I don't know exactly what is they can end up doing. Does moving to standalone increase their capacity overall?
No,
In theory, it's supposed to.
no, it
In
doesn't.
theory, it's supposed to, but
It does.
in real world scenario, will it?
It won't.
I'm just saying that
I
their
don't think that.
movement to it is they're moving faster than their competitors are. I mean, AT&T's in full reset mode, going around destroying all the Nokia stuff and gutting it out for Ericsson, and
But all I'm
Verizon is
saying
not
is this:
moving fast.
Dish is already standalone. Is that flocking customers to them?
No, it's not.
There you go.
I mean, I
So,
understand
no benefit.
Even with T-Mobile having the fastest network, it's not making everybody jump towards them.
Well, no, they wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. It's not tangible. It doesn't matter. Giving people talking points does not give them actual value.
That's
Oh,
true.
look what we got. Hey, what's that do for me? Well, you just got it. But what's that mean? Well, you got it. Oh, what?
I was just looking at the landscape of if the MVNOs are already touting unlimited data.
Then there's
What
nothing
does
to
the
do.
carriers?
All
What do
that you
the
can
actual
do
carriers
now.
going to be having?
What you don't realize is we're already at a point where the only thing you can do different is what type of perks you give. That's about it. We're already in that landscape. We have more speed than we need now. There's no more speed you can give that would actually matter to anybody.
That's true.
That's the problem. So worrying about what technology is deployed or not is irrelevant. It just comes down now to who can give you the best deal. And we've already been there for 2 years. Standalone doesn't change that. Because the only way you can differentiate standalone is by compromising everybody else in lower plans, which is not a benefit to the customer.
That's true.
It just makes your speed test faster. And once again, speed tests are irrelevant.
I totally know that speed testing is irrelevant to a certain point, right?
And you can prove it. But I'm saying is you can prove it. If you can look, home internet proved it a long time ago. I could have one house that has 500 meg service and the other one that has 20. And as long as no one's doing speed tests, you really can't tell.
No, you can't.
And that's the point. That's why it doesn't matter. So you can limit that certain customer to 200 meg and this other one gets 1.2. But if they're both watching the HD video on YouTube, it doesn't matter because the video is only 5 megs. No one cares. It doesn't matter. You're not getting anything. Until you get something, it's another thing. Yeah, we'll go out there and we'll go, oh, let's download a 10 gig file on this. People aren't downloading 10 gig files on their phone. No one's doing that.
Reader John says it just kind of like how you said it. Dynamic network slicing would be a benefit, but there's not really a user case for customers out there yet.
Yeah, that may be to create a new lane like business application, right? But we all know that, first of all, that's
being able to offer MVNOs to whoever wants to sign up.
Yeah, but you're saying sell them their own slice?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you do that, guess what happens to that MVNO? They now have to be priced higher because they're getting special features. So now they're going to have to be charging more, which means they're going to get blasted by the rest of them. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't benefit you that much. Like I said, the application where you have a business nearby that wants dedicated spectrum, okay, that gets you that business customer. But as an overall, that ain't going to help. That ain't going to help 100 million subs change their day.
Well,
I
don't necessarily think there has to be 100 million subs. The conversation
but what
I had
I'm
was
saying is, if T-Mobile were to go on TV and keep blasting about standalone, right? The majority of customers, there's nothing you can get from it, which is why it will be the same argument with 5G, right? You had AT&T out there running nothing but LTE, and they were still better than T-Mobile when T-Mobile had 5G in the beginning. So the 5G didn't mean anything. And what I'm telling you, with standalone's the same situation. It's going to be a talking point that doesn't actually mean anything. And
which is why I said is the movement to standalone has to come with a customer standpoint. It has to be something you can differentiate yourself from your competitor.
But I'm just saying I don't see it because we're already at excess. So the only way you could differentiate your standalone from your non-standalone is by making the service worse for everybody in lower tiers, which is not a benefit in the long term.
True. I'm just saying that
the only way you can make your new feature worthwhile is by making all your other stuff worse. That's not good. That's bad. That's terrible.
I wouldn't go as far as saying they want to make it worse. I'm just saying that you need to offer something.
What I'm saying is, even in your brain, you can't fathom what that would be. That's my point.
I mean,
you're trying to tout that this thing is some great feature, but even you don't have even a concept of what to do with it to differentiate. And that's my point.
Hey, look,
and we all know that we're more creative than the carriers. We're more creative than they are, and you can't even think of an answer.
I can't think because here's the thing. No. And you're absolutely right. Like I said, the problem at hand is the only thing that I can see them doing differently to try to separate themselves away from from everybody else and stand out would be speed tiers.
Yeah, but
here's the thing. But then when you just said that if you do speed tiers, it can affect the overall customer base. I don't like. We don't know to what extent.
That customer who's on the MVNO plan right now, right? and their plan ain't getting limited until they hit their data limit. All of a sudden, you throw network slicing on and you limit them the whole time. They're
Yeah,
gonna
well,
leave.
here's
See
the
the
thing.
problem?
You know how we've said it here numerous of times that gig plans from cable really don't matter, right? Like you've gone through and talked about how the utilization of people's network is not even close, right? Whatever they're doing at home is not even pulling enough, but yet they still sell those type of tiers. I'm
Yeah,
saying
because
that
it's a
those type
lie.
of
They're
tiers will
selling
end
you
up
a lie.
coming.
It's the point I'm trying to make. They're selling you a lie.
Yeah.
Speed tiers is the biggest con of any home internet ISP. Speed tiers are the largest con ever done, and people fall for it. That's why if you call any major telco right now and you do the little thing where they ask you, "Oh, what are you gonna do with your internet?" "Oh, well, my son plays his PlayStation." "Oh, you need 500." It's a
Oh yeah, I
con,
know.
and that's my point.
Hey,
Speed
look,
tiers
I'm
are
just
not
saying.
valuable in the long run. They're not valuable. They're just
But here's the
not.
thing: if you want to get away from speed matters, basically you just say, hey, look, we got the TikTok tier. If you just want to look at TikTok, here's a tier. You don't advertise speed anymore. You be like, hey, look,
Yeah, but then
you
that
can do
means
as
you're gonna
much
have to
web
make
browser as you
lower
want to do.
plans, not higher ones. We already got lower plans. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can already watch all the TikTok you want on a Verizon Welcome Unlimited plan. You can already do it on the lowest tier. So how's it a feature now?
Well, no, I understand. Hey, look, I just think that a lot of people don't like the idea of being limited, right? And like these unlimited plans are just limit. They're plans with limits, but they just disguise them as unlimited.
Yeah,
They're
but I
disguised
mean,
as.
at the end of the day, as long as you don't see an extra charge on your bill, they technically are unlimited in the long run. If you're on a major plan.
True.
MVNO side is different, but the truth is, it's no. The point is this, right? If you monitor 90 million people for 20 years and you realize that almost nobody uses more than 30 gigs, if your ceiling is 500, you have given them what 100-fold what they're going to use ever. So you can say unlimited because it doesn't really matter for the majority of people. Everybody ain't going to put their phone on a repeated speed test 24 hours a day just to try to prove you wrong. It doesn't matter.
No, no. Look, the very, very special cases are for us nerds trying to see how far we can actually push it. What was it like?
I don't
Somebody
find
somebody
value in
wanted
that.
to
I just
somebody
think it's
took the
childish, to be honest.
like what was it? Somebody took the T-Mobile home internet and did like downloaded torrent sites up to like 20 terabytes. Like just wanted to see how far they could push it, just so there could be a letter coming out talking about, well, we're gonna be adding in limits. But no, I totally understand where No Radio's coming from. I just think that T-Mobile is priming themselves for something bigger. From what I could tell by a lot of the articles, and you start piecing all the articles together, that's kind of how I look at it. Um, with them being hyper aggressive in the industry over Spectrum, um, with them introducing like a MVNO super program or doing like the what is it the fixed wireless on the go that gives them more capabilities than their competitors. Verizon is only able to do fixed wireless stationary. T-Mobile is moving fixed wireless mobile. For RVers, people who are in RVs are going to be gravitating towards those type of plans, not just, oh well, Verizon says I can only be at this location here. So that's kind of what I wanted to speak on. Um, Leave your opinion below. I'm curious to see how you might feel about it. Let's see. Let's see here. Oh, No Radio left. and I really wanted to ask him about this, but this is from Tech Radar. So this is from Tech Radar, and this is VPNs don't work on Snapdragon laptops, and here's why. Well, the VPNs not working on Snapdragons laptops is going to be an issue until they pretty much write native code for it. So in this article, they go down the whole reason why. And the long and short of it is these VPN companies, like let's say NordVPN or PIA, private internet access, companies like that, they need to write their code directly for the ARM chip. And they haven't really done it yet. And emulation is not showing that it's actually working, even though a lot of the programs should be working in emulation. No Radio has a Snapdragon laptop and been bouncing ideas off of them, seeing what they can and they cannot do. Some of the networking, some of the benchmarks might be undertooled. You know, it still seems like there's a lot more juice in the tank when it comes to this chipset, and nobody's really pushing the envelope per se. That's kind of how I look at it. Is a lot of the Snapdragon chips feel like they're over OP'd, but I feel like they're being hindered, me personally, from what I can grab from articles talking to the No Radio about his Snapdragon X Elite processor. But then on top of that, a lot of programs are not being written for it or updated to work on these chipsets yet. So with VPNs, and a lot of people use VPNs to get around like region code or regional restrictions. Let's say they are using their VPNs in responsible ways. Let's say that you want to watch, whatever video is in Great Britain. We don't get Great Britain videos on Netflix here in America. But if you say that you're broadcasting from or receiving data from Great Britain, you get the Great Britain version of Netflix. They get different movies and stuff. You might be from Britain, and you wanna enjoy what you like. The BBC app might not work when you're here in the States, and you want it to work. So there's gonna be some snags in a lot of these Snapdragon processors, but it's cool to finally see that they're starting to actually take them seriously in the sense of getting these apps to start working. Let's see. Basically, the later part of this is just kind of like a infomercial for other VPN companies, basically. But NordVPN is the top ranking one that is actually trying to make sure their service is actually working with the Snapdragon processors. So go to Tech Radar and read this article. When you get close towards the end, it's going to be basically trying to sell you on, hey, what VPN service you should grab. Okay, so now this is something new to me, and I didn't know this except for the last couple of days. This popped up in my news feed. But how would you feel about this? Let's pull this one up. How would you feel about this? How would you feel about a PC subscription Now, for me, not really. I would rather build my own, have my own product, something that I tinker with myself. If I want more juice out of it, then I will work on it to get more juice out of it. That's kind of something that I have always gone to. Oh, Mr. John, no, I haven't upgraded to the Chromebook Plus yet because Chrome is stagnant now. They were making a lot of moves, but then they fall they've been very stagnant. It's kind of like they're plugging holes, but they're not moving forward. And the Chromebook Plus hasn't really yielded itself as a viable option yet. Maybe what happens when Chrome goes ARM and they're finally, utilizing everything from ARM. I don't know. Uh, Having a Chromebook that was on x86 gave it a lot more better battery life, but I haven't seen one that runs on ARM yet. Here, let me highlight that question for you. But when it comes to PC and PC gaming, I am of the notion that you're probably going to end up doing it yourself. Now, I know that certain people probably don't want to have to deal with the product, but if you knew how much some of these computers cost just for you to rent one or a subscription fee, quote unquote, then you'll realize why you should build your own. And it doesn't cost that much to build one, but over $2,000 for renting, basically. It's higher tier, PC that basically a lot of games can run on mid tier hardware. Feel that we might be going too far to the right here. Granted, this is a service by NZXT, but I think that we might be going a slight bit too far to the right or too far to the left, however you want to look at it. But subscription PCs, I don't know. As you can see, if you are, let's say that you're a gamer and you do gaming on the go, maybe. I mean, not gaming on the go, but you do gaming and you're constantly moving around, or you don't have time to build your PC, which I don't see how you don't have time to build your PC. Sorry, you always have time to build your desktop. That's just me. Especially if it was no strings attached, and if you're spending $2,000, and they talking about $2,000 a year, so if you're putting it over a lifetime of subscription, you're putting in $4,000 or $6,000 into your gaming rig. I think you can. I think you can build your own. I agree with you, John. I totally 100% agree with you. The the subscriptions are basically killing us, but this is just how companies want to live inside of your wallet. How they give you kind of a hassle-free environment, but really it's sucking you dry. Like, you know, you could build a high-end PC today and it will last you 4 or 5 years because video games don't really push the envelope as much. I think the only one that really pushed the envelope of late was Cyberpunk, and that came out 2 years ago. Cyberpunk is the only one that pushed the envelope, and then that that was the last game. They still run benchmark tests with old PC games like what is it called, Tomb Raider. And then let's see, you just said, how do you feel about playing with AI? Okay, so here's the problem with home AI. I would have to be writing code per se to take advantage of the CUDA cores. The only thing that I would benefit from anything that has to do with AI would be, let's say I'm video editing. One, I haven't got to that place yet to invest in a hardware rig that I'm gonna be doing a lot of video editing in. Once I get to that point, I most definitely will shell out the money to buy a video editing rig and make it myself. But down to my level or even below, AI is kind of negligible due to the fact that running those instruction sets on larger scale GPUs net you better results. Me putting a dual GPU into my gaming rig would do nothing for AI. I mean, I'm probably going to maybe test around with something, play around with something, but any inquiries that you do AI based is probably coming from Chat GPT or Google, but they're all doing all those on the server side. So I have played around with that. He put up here, do you utilize the Galaxy AI? So I have played around with it on my phone, and it's very unique being able to just draw a circle around or something, or point your camera at something and be like, hey, look, what is this? What is that? But a lot of that processing is not done on the phone. It is done in the cloud. You know, the phone doesn't know what the color of the table is and where can I find to buy it. It's sending it up to the cloud, and the cloud sends my results back down. Um, I think like a lot of the AI that we're starting to see that's on device really is more computational. It's like voice, being able to translate video in real time. That's the AI that we're going to start experiencing more of. So like you could have a video call with a total stranger. You don't have to go, hey, I speak this language and you speak that language. I need you to understand me. And it live translate on the go. Basically, you know, Star Trek's universal translator. But the voice model is small enough to fit on a phone. They're going to add more NPUs to devices, and voice is going to be easier to do. Video transcoding would probably be the next thing that pops up for on the go processing in AI. But like full heavy data sets, I don't see that coming to a person near you just yet. It's cool to have it in your hands, and I've turned it on my phone, but the most I've dealt with it has been like circling something that I didn't know and wanting the computer to tell me what it is. Let's see. You had another question. It said, do you think that 5G becomes more ubiquitous? We will care less about AI being in the cloud. So because they're talking about millisecond access, it's going to be indistinguishable. That's kind of how I look at it. If your phone can connect to the server and then the server connects back to you in under 20 milliseconds, then being running on device means nothing. I mean, we're going to expect that it is going to have to think anyway. They did that actually. Google did that for a long time with the voice. So if anybody remembers, when they introduced Google Voice or their voice translation, it used to go up to the cloud first, translate in the cloud, and come back down. And then they got faster, then they got faster, and they got faster. And then they were able to shrink the model down to fit on the phone, where it didn't eat up like all the data room on your device. I think that a lot of the AI features are just going to be too big, and you pick and choose what is useful. Hey, people circle a lot for videos, or stagnant pictures. How can we make that faster? So it becomes a feature that people are willing to use. That's kind of how I look at it. What if you want to know how much a car costs, but you don't know the name of it? You could take a picture, circle it. Hey, well, tell me what this car is and where can I buy it? Bam! If it can happen in 20 milliseconds, you don't need it to work on your phone. The transaction between doing and getting a result back is going to be so fast that it's going to be commonplace that 5G is just going to empower those type of capabilities. When it runs slow is when you're going to end up noticing it. That's kind of the problem is, let's say you're in a bad coverage area and you want to do that same thing and you're not able to. That's where it's going to run into an issue. But overall, you're standing around, you're looking at a menu, and you don't know how to pronounce the name of the soup of the day. And it goes up and tells you all the nutritional value of whatever soup it is. Hey, are you gluten? You might want to ask them, hey, I'm gluten. Do you have a gluten-free version of this? Because the one that you took a picture of is known to have gluten in it. And you might be, you can't tolerate gluten. But it gives you the results so quickly that you eventually just end up utilizing it second nature. That's kind of how I look at it. Let's see. You got another. Let me close this one out. Give me 1 second. Oh, where's my mouse at? All right. So John also puts up here, said politicians would be happy with AI to help them summarize the very large bills that they have to pass, which we all know that politicians don't read the whole bill. I mean, come on. Even Google, what was it? Google in one of their IOs, they had this thing called the TLDR function, and you're starting to actually see that pop up in more places. There's whole services that revolve around taking large data sets and summarizing them down for people. So, like Google called it the TLDR plan. What is it called? It's too long, don't read. And these are the things that you want to be able to get a lot more out of it, but you don't want to sit around and try to read 800, 900 pages. I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna skim read and pluck out what I can so I can make a judgment call off of that. But if I can get something that can read the whole thing for me and then give me what I need from it, that's even better. All right, so I got one more story. Let's see. I got one more story, and this is kind of a heartbreaker. Samsung let me down, and I'm kind of mad that they let me down on this one. So this article is from Sam Mobile. Let's pull this up. So this article is from Sam Mobile. Samsung chief angry at mobile division for copying Apple's design. So if you don't know, normally July, August time is when they release like new phones, new this, new that, and from Samsung. And this year, the earbuds are looking awful familiar to those who dabble in the tech industry, per se. And so I'm kind of on the fence. I will still probably end up buying this pair, but I do prefer the Samsung headphones due to the fact that I dabble on different phones, and the Apple dedicated headphones don't like to play well with other phones very much. But the fact that the Samsung chief is angry with the mobile division tells you how much they don't really, how can I say it, talk. They don't really have a lot of conversation between each other. Let's see, the earbuds and the ultras. See, I'm torn. I think that this is I never really care for Apple's products, but I feel like the design was inevitable. The earbuds, they're packing more information into them. That you want better battery life. Samsung's approach was kind of good to a certain extent, but it requires you to cram this earbud directly into your ear. Where Apple's approach was, hey, put the battery in the stem and let it hang off your ear. It works. I mean, don't get me wrong, Apple design choice was a little bit weird, but um I never got the what is it? Their higher end earbuds, but I did pay for the Samsung higher end pros. The pro I had the pros. And the Samsung Pros were comfortable, but you could tell they want to add more features, but they were size restrained. And I think that with them adding the quote unquote stem to it, can probably end up giving them abilities that of more features that they can end up adding. Longer, better battery life, better noise canceling. Having the mics further apart helps with noise canceling or noise isolation. So, like being able to isolate your voice is one of those things that you end up being able to do better when you have the microphones further apart. And I think that you're seeing the design. What is they call it? Function and form meeting together. You need better noise canceling or better voice isolation. You need the microphones further apart. And you probably end up having a mic in the stem. You might have the mic in the ear, and then those two mics together give you better noise cancellation. But let's see. Rita John says the Pixel 9 kind of looks like an iPhone. I would not be surprised. I haven't seen the renders for the phone yet. I'm going to wait until Google actually does a hard release before I try to find renders of it. But there's not many designs you can come up with anymore. I mean, a square phone is going to eventually start looking a lot like your competitors. And then, Google is not really putting a lot into their phones as of late. So it's gonna be very interesting in the next couple years where we find ourselves with the mobile landscape. The copycatting is probably just inevitable. That's kind of how I look at it. I wouldn't necessarily say that Samsung is copying Apple per se. I think that it's just the design choices are going to be mimicked by your competitors, regardless of how long they're in the industry. The whole earbud was done by Samsung to try to not mimic Apple for their stem. But if you want more functionality, it's just so happened that was the perfect design for what they were doing. Hold on. Oh, hey, look, I like their innovation also, but it's like the American market doesn't have an appreciation for it. Or that we're not showing that we have an appreciation for it. The nerds would prefer the Chinese phones, but Chinese phones can't come to America because of copyright. Samsung gets away with it by just spamming the whole industry and hope that you can eventually do it, or they'll take whatever is popular in China and then bring it over themselves because they have the relationships with the carriers and different things. But the problem you run into is how often do you need to keep changing what you're doing? Even with the Fold 6, my wife has the Fold. I opted not to get it this year. there's not that much difference. I mean, the only difference they added is they made the phone more square. They made the screen a little bit bigger. They made the phone overall a little bit bigger, but there's no game changer that makes you go, man, you know what? Man, rent is due. But I love that phone though. Like we haven't been in that stance in a long time. That's kind of how I look at it. Let's see. You said when you was in Italy, you lost track of how many Honor phones was over there. Yeah, but you know what? The Honor series, like their folding phones was something that I really wanted real bad. I forget what the name of the phone is that their folding phone was, but the way they did it versus the way the Samsung's done their folding phone is more preferred by me than what Samsung's doing, which is you put a screen on top, then you put a screen inside. The Honor series, what they did was the whole phone is a screen, and when you fold it, it cuts the screen in half. But basically, what you're doing is you only have to worry about that one screen, and I think that is the better approach. And he says, John says, Samsung feels kind of stagnant. Yes. Hey, look, Mr. No Radio, aka Aries, is migrated away from Android because Android is stagnated. He's rocking the iPhone. I have an iPhone, but I don't use my iPhone like that. But I can see why a lot of people are gravitating towards Apple. Especially if you're an Android user. If you're an Android user and you're like, hey, look, what's new? What's popping? I've never had an iPhone. Let me try this operating system because you want to try something new. So it's going to be interesting to see how long this is going to take. Computing overall is getting faster. You know, the next I would say paradigm shift is going to be portable VR. That's just my take on it. But utilizing your phone, you know, your phone is going to end up being the powerhouse that's in your pocket, and that's kind of what it's going to end up having to be, not a dedicated device like an Apple VR on your face. It has to have its own backpack to carry around with it. You already have your phone. These phones are as powerful as these VR headsets, if not more. They just lack the vision. That's all. That's kind of how my take on it is. But thank y'all guys. That's all the stories I have for this week. Check back with me again next week. I'm trying different times of the day to see what's a good time to do my podcast, because it seems like people come towards the end of my podcast, so I'm trying to maximize my viewership if I can. But I'm still doing it on Sundays currently. Hit the like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm still doing network testing with my cellular lines, but it'll be good to see people and their thoughts on what's coming down the pipeline. I gave my opinion about T-Mobile, you know, this evening. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what 5G standalone is going to end up doing, but T-Mobile is making a mad dash to that finish line a whole lot faster than their competitors. And the only reason why you would move that quickly is if you got something up your sleeve. That's just my opinion. Feel free to comment below and tell me what your opinion is. Reader John, thank you for staying with me this evening, man. I greatly appreciate it. And y'all have a very good evening.